Hey everybody, and welcome to Stock Abilities. Today I'm going to be covering essentially something I covered earlier, but there's been a major change in development for that. That Amazon's basically telling Echelon Fitness to stop selling Prime Bike. Initially, they marketed it as a bike exclusively partnered with Prime. And Amazon's response to that is this bike is not an Amazon product or related to Amazon Prime, so it was a bit misleading of a headline. It's a little bit more bearish on Peloton because of that. I'm still bearish with the fitness program and some other competitors coming to the market, but Peloton probably won't be hit as badly due to the fact that Echelon does not have a formal partnership with Amazon, and they were working with Echelon to clarify that its communication to stop the sale of the product and change the product branding. So obviously misleading branding, a little bit of misdirection from Agalon. They said, on different sources that supposedly this was a competitor to Peloton, competitor to a lot of other people, and it was rebranded and redid with Amazon Prime. This apparently was not true. So Peloton might see a little bit of a jump into early morning trading in the pre-market. It's down a little bit in the after hours, but it could have a nice little bounce. Just something to keep in mind that market share is market share. They're still going to lose potential market share in the longer term due to the fact that they're already overvalued in a sector that they're in. Not a lot of competitors, but at the same time, for fitness, there is Amazon's offering their own fitness program, which I'll jump to in just a second here. But I just wanted to show that here. And essentially, the $500 bike is almost identical to Echelon's $500 bike at Walmart, which has been available at Walmart since March, and it hasn't had any noticeable impact on Peloton's growth. KeyBank Capital Markets analyst Edward Ruma wrote in a note to investors. Essentially, this was the earlier news. This was at 1:57. They updated it a little bit to make it sound a little bit less I don't know, bias. Now it sounds a little bit different than when I read it out earlier in the video from a previous video that I did at around 9:30 in the morning. But the short answer is that essentially Peloton bike that came out, this Prime bike supposedly with Echelon, is not a Prime bike at all. They're got basically delisted. Some of the other things was the Prime Bike was developed in collaboration with Amazon, who wanted to create their first ever connected fitness product that retailed for less than $500. An Echelon spokesperson told NBC News Shopping, adding it was designed to strike the perfect balance between aesthetics, tech, and reasonable pricing, and is the only connected fitness product designed exclusively for Amazon. So the branding was a little bit misleading. Peloton took a bit of a hit, kind of rebounded throughout the day, probably as people found out this earlier that essentially the news wasn't exactly on the nose, wasn't really true. We'll see how it affects the Peloton stock into the near future. It's already trading at a pretty high price. It's been kind of going up throughout the year. I mentioned this earlier. So it's still kind of, I don't know, unrealistic price, in my opinion. Here's Amazon. It took a little bit of a hit in the after hours, but I don't think that has anything to do with Peloton. Amazon has a lot going for it, so you never know what's going on in that regard. But ultimately, I just wanted to cover this in a quick updates video for any of the people that are subscribed to my channel. This was the news that was out earlier. They completely changed that news because Amazon says they have no association. But thank you for listening in. Make sure to comment below on your own input, what you think of this situation, and have a great day.